It was a quiet autumn morning in California. Nothing about that day suggested it would change history. An almost blind woman walked slowly into a government building, her hand tightly wrapped around a small girl's wrist. The child moved stiffly, awkwardly, as if every step required thought. The staff noticed it immediately. Something was wrong. At first glance, the girl looked no older than 5 or 6. Her posture was hunched, her movements hesitant, her face strangely blank. But when the social worker asked for her age, the answer froze the room. She was 13. The woman was Irene Wiley. The girl beside her was her daughter, Ginny. Irene had not come looking for attention. She hadn't come to tell a story. She was there for help. Years of abuse at the hands of her husband had finally pushed her to leave. Her eyesight was failing fast. Cataracts in a degenerative condition had left her barely able to see. She could no longer work. She needed disability support. But Irene was so visually impaired that she walked into the wrong building by mistake. Instead of a benefits office, she entered social services. And that mistake would expose one of the most disturbing cases of child neglect the United States had ever seen. The social worker who greeted them sensed it instantly. Ginny didn't speak. She didn't look around. She didn't react to voices, noises, or even sudden movement. When questioned, Irene explained that Ginny had always been different, quiet, difficult, too quiet. Police were called. Both parents, Irene and Ginny's father, Clark, were arrested. Ginny was taken to a children's hospital in Los Angeles for evaluation. That's when doctors realized the truth was far worse than anyone imagined. Ginny was severely malnourished. At 13 years old, she weighed less than 60 pounds. She stood barely 4.5 feet tall. Her arms and legs were thin, weak, almost fragile. She struggled to walk properly. Simple movements that most children master in early childhood were unfamiliar to her. Her vision was poor. Her ability to focus was limited. Swallowing food was difficult. She drooled constantly. She was completely incontinent. But there was something even more unsettling. Ginny could not speak. Not a single word. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't even make the random sounds children usually do. In fact, doctors soon realized she was almost incapable of producing sound at all. When she wanted attention, she didn't call out. She dragged chairs. She knocked objects over. Noise had to be created indirectly. Medical examination showed no physical reason for her silence. Her vocal cords worked. Her hearing was intact. This was not a medical condition. So the question haunted everyone involved. What had been done to this child? To leave her trapped in silence at 13 years old? The truth emerged slowly, piece by piece, as investigators reconstructed Ginny's childhood. From the age of 20 months, Ginny had been locked away in a small dark room in her family's home. Her father believed she was mentally unfit and decided she should be isolated from the world. She was strapped to a child's potty chair for hours every day, unable to move. At night, she was confined to a wire crib covered with mesh, like a cage. No one spoke to her. No one read to her. No one taught her words. Any sound Ginny made was punished. If she cried, she was beaten. If she tried to communicate, she was silenced. Over time, she learned the only way to survive was to remain still and quiet. Years passed. Her mother, nearly blind and terrified of her husband, was powerless to intervene. Ginny grew up without language, without social contact, without love. Her mind developed in isolation, cut off during the most critical years of human development. When doctors finally understood what she had endured, Ginny became the focus of intense scientific interest. Linguists, psychologists, and neurologists all asked the same question. Could a child learn language after missing the critical window of development? Ginny began therapy. Slowly, painfully, she learned words. She learned emotions. She learned how to trust. But language never fully came. Grammar remained fragmented, sentences incomplete. Still, Ginny proved something extraordinary. She showed the world that language is not just learned, it must be nurtured, early and gently. Her life became living evidence of how deeply human connection shapes who we become. Ginny Wiley never chose to be a scientific case, but her silence taught humanity one of its loudest lessons.